Today we're going to make chili, and we're going to make it with ground meat, but you can do this with deer ground meat, you can do this with the lamb, you can do this with frozen vegetables, although I'm going to chop them for you today. So let's make chili. Ingredients that you're going to need for your chili are about 1.5 pounds or 2 of ground meat, although you can use whatever amount you want, and I used to love to do it with deer ground meat. Big old chunk of garlic, onion, bell pepper. Here's the recipe. Been using this for many years. Salt and pepper, chili beans with the chili sauce, tomato sauce, chili powder, paprika, oregano, and cayenne, and a couple of teaspoons of flour. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is get your pot turned on, and we're going to brown our ground meat. Now go ahead and put it in. And then we'll start chopping up our vegetables. Alright, I'm going to break it up a little bit with this little meat thing. I told you over and over again that I'm not a tool kind of gadget person, but this thing is very nifty, and you don't have to sit here and just kind of move the meat around forever with a regular old spoon. It goes very quickly like that. Let me set this over here. Alright, we're going to start chopping all of our vegetables. I'm going to start with onions. Whenever you're cutting up an onion, you want to do the ends first, especially if you're using the whole thing. Cut it in half. Peel off the bad layer. Peel off the other bad layer. You could use purple onions in this. I think that would be really good. I have definitely used frozen onions in this before. So that's an option for you if you don't want to take a lot of time. And then you hold the onion between your fingers like this, and you go carefully, as big a chunks as you want. And then you can slice really close if you want little tiny pieces. Now when the kids were little, they didn't like chunks of vegetables, so I would like chop them almost microscopic. Or, it took me a long time to figure this out, I would use dry onions, and then they would just flavor your food, but they would be gone. They would disintegrate whenever they were cooking. And so they really didn't notice it then. But now everybody's older and they don't really care about that kind of stuff anymore. But if you have kids and that's one of their gripes about food, you can buy dried ones, and dried bell pepper, dehydrated, and put it in your food, and they'll never even know the difference. Alright, I'm going to stir this up a little bit, keep it moving around. And I'm going to go ahead and add in our onions. We're just going to saute everything together. It's no big deal. I'm just not going to add any liquids until the meat and the onions and bell pepper have sauteed a little bit and browned. Alright, we're going to use bell pepper. Cut it in half. Pop out this little core and stem with your thumb, easy peasy. And then we're going to julienne it, which means cut it into strips. Turn it and then dice it. Now chili is something that, oh no, Kevin, no, you can't have that. Kevin is my little scavenger under my feet. When you make this with deer meat, this deer meat doesn't have a lot of fat in it, so you probably want to start off a little bit with some oil, or whether that be canola oil or pork fat, bacon fat, or olive oil. But my kids never really liked the flavor of straight up deer meat in spaghetti or chili or anything like that. So I would always cut it with ground meat. and they never complained after I started doing that. So that's an option for you too. If you are cooking for people and you have a lot of deer meat because you have a hunter in the family, then that's an option if you find that people have an aversion to the taste of deer meat, or say it's wild tasting or it tastes funny. Just mix it half and half with beef, and then you can use up all that ground meat and nobody is the wiser. I used to do that all the time. Alright, so we're just going to let all this get brown. I'm going to cut up the garlic. Give it a good little smush so I can peel this tissue off easily. Cut off the stem. And I'm going to dice it exactly like I did the onion. Just cut it into strips and then dice it into little tiny pieces. You could obviously put this through a garlic press and be done with it, but these things are so big that they're not that hard to cut up. If you fill them with a bunch of little ones, you could probably just put it through a garlic press. This is what a garlic press looks like this. And you just put the garlic in here, press it, and it all minces it outside this little hole right here. I hate washing those suckers, so I usually just chop it up myself. I'm going to get this really little so that everything tastes garlicky. I'm going to go in Alright, if any of you went to school with me, I can remember us being fed chili at school, and they would feed it to us with rice. And I loved it that way. It's kind of like, I don't know, chili beans and rice. I don't know what they used to call it. But I vaguely remember that. But I have a terrible memory, and I just remember every day, for the most part, drinking a tab and eating a 100-gram bar for lunch. I mean, where was my nutrition teacher? I don't know. But I remember doing that like every day. I can't remember if that was after I had eaten lunch or if that was my lunch, but I remember having it. And I remember tabs. I still eat 100 grams to this day. Alright, now once everything is brown, there's no more visible pink on your meat. That's what we're looking for. We can start adding in all the other ingredients. Alright, so I'm going to open up all of these little cans of beans and tomato sauce and then put them in. Alright, I'm going to show you how to open using my Kitchen Mama. And if you haven't gone and Googled what a Kitchen Mama is and ordered you one by now, you're missing out. Best little tool ever. Bought one from my parents. I've been having this sucker for so long. Saw it on some infomercial. Ordered me one, and it is the best thing ever. So it goes around, and it gets back where it started. It pops itself up. You hit the button, and it gives you one of those no sharp edge things. Alright, here we go. All in. I'm going to go in with 2 cans of beans in their chili sauce. I always go and get a little bit of water in these cans and rinse them out. 1 little baby can, 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Sometimes I put Rotel, depending on, you know, what kind of mood I'm in. But you can put Rotel. And I'm going to go ahead and add our little seasonings now. Let me stir it a little bit. Turn my heat down so I don't pop tomato all on my face. Now, I like my food to be very chili tasting. And I can remember I used to buy chili seasoning packets. Like the, what's the one, the Alarm, whatever it is. I used to buy the little packet, and it said chili powder, a chili seasoning or whatever, mix. And one day I didn't have any, so I Googled, well, what's in chili packets? to make chili, and it was all of these different ingredients. And so I've tweaked it a little bit and came up with good equivalents that I liked to make it, you know, taste like chili. So we're going to do a tablespoon. This is 1.5 tablespoons of, I'm gonna do 2 of these, which means I'm putting 3 tablespoons of chili powder. Okay, good bit, but that's the way I like it. And we're gonna put about 2 tablespoons of flour. I did one whole spoon and then a little bit. And then we're going to take about 1.5 teaspoons or so of oregano, a little dash of paprika, probably like 1/8 teaspoon, probably like 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne. We're gonna do about 1 teaspoon of black pepper and about 1 teaspoon of salt. All right, and then I think that is it. Give it a little stir. And we're gonna let this come up to a boil. And then we're gonna turn it down. And we're gonna let it cook for about 45 minutes to an hour, should be plenty, on a slow simmer. And then I'll show you what it looks like. Yum, smells so good in here. All right, let's see what it looks like. All right, so our chili has been simmering for about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and it is thick and it smells so good. I can't wait to give it a try. So I'm gonna put some in this little bowl. I say some, I'm gonna put a lot because I'm about to go sit and eat this. And look, I know it's summer, but you can just turn the air conditioner down and make it cold in your house, and it'll, although I told Robbie that, and he told me, no, the electricity bill was too high to do that. But when I'm eating chili, I like to put these little mini crackers on it. And if you haven't found these yet, they're fabulous. Now let's give it a try. All right, let's give it a try. It's so good. Just warms my heart, making me ready for the winter. And this is another really good pack for your lunch, reheat and have kind of meal. So it defrosts well and heats up well. Enjoy.